You're listening to the Show We Go Baseball podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 9 of To the Show We Go, featuring Ed Hand and myself, Andrew Parker. If you did not get a chance to catch episode 8, we had Chris Clegg, and I had Ed just describe to me his title because he's pretty much one of the most knowledgeable baseball minds I've ever talked to for minor league stuff. It's insane. He found his own site called Dynasty Dugout. And he does. I saw people in our replies yesterday being like, "Oh, these are all guys that Chris had me add to my dynasty team for fantasy baseball." So that's a great episode if you get a chance. He had a front row seat at the Greenville Drives championship run this year. He lives in Greenville, and that actually bridges me into our guest today. We have lefty Nathan Landry. Nathan, how has your offseason been so far?
Off-season's been great. I mean, it's been 3 weeks now since we won with Greenville. So I spent the past 3 weeks being home back in Quebec, Canada. So I'm at most of my time at the indoor facility here in Trois-Rivières. So it's been great to just see friends, family for a few weeks now.
How did you say that? Can you say that one again?
Yeah, Trois-Rivières, which is like the French name, because I mean there's no translation for it. So
okay, I like it. No, I just had to I don't know. I love hearing French. And actually, Ed, did you have your bachelorette trip up in Montreal?
Did you say my bachelorette trip?
Bachelor trip. Holy cow.
Yeah, I had my bachelor party up in Montreal back in July. Nathan and I have talked a little bit about this. I've got some family up in Canada. I've spent some time in Trépastal. Little bit of time there, a little bit of time in Montreal. It's honestly, Montreal's my favorite city in the world. If I could move there and find work there, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Interesting. That's something I wasn't expecting. But Nathan, I want to talk. I guess I want to start off as you were part of a championship team this year in Greenville. Yeah. Can you kind of just talk about like what it was like being on? I know you started the year in Salem, but you were pretty much in Greenville for most of the season. So can you kind of just talk about like what it was like on the team, how the vibes were, just everything you can think of?
No, of course. I mean, it was a big year. I mean, I spent 3 weeks and a half. I got called up to Greenville on May 2nd. So I kind of a tough first month from what I heard when I got there. And then we just start winning. I mean, it was a tight group, honestly, from the first minute I got there, like socially, it was weird atmosphere for me because I just got called up. I just started to get to know guys in Salem, and then boom, 3 weeks and a half later, I'm in a new group, entirely new group. A lot of older guys that have been through the minors for more than 3 years, and then so went there, met a few familiar faces like Alex Oppie, Isaac Coffey, that part of my draft class. So I got there, and the first thing I noticed is tight group. I mean, there's a lot of good leadership up there. And then obviously we just started winning, and that first half was just unbelievable. I mean, we went on a winning trip like I've never experienced before. So it was great atmosphere into that first half. And I mean, if I talk a little bit more about the second half, I mean, we kind of coasted at the end a little bit. We had some guys that literally stepped up for us at the end of the regular season to just be like, guys, we're playing for something else. And then I can name the guy. I mean, a guy like Nick Decker, he definitely helped us during that those last few weeks. And then we went to the playoffs and won all 4. So that was kind of crazy. I think it was the first time that for me being part of a championship final and then actually winning it in 2 games, that was crazy. That was great time.
I think we're going to go more on that, talk about that run, but I kind of want to talk about your first month also. You were assigned to Salem, one of the older guys there, and you had you were the first call up of the season for anybody in the Red Sox system, May 2nd. They brought you up from Salem to Greenville. I don't think you gave up a run in over like 10 innings there or something like that. What was that first month like for you? Was there a little bit of disappointment starting in Salem? And just how did you go about kind of just owning the league there for about a month?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I went into spring training with kind of like not no goals, but no expectation of like that's something I can't control. So I went to spring training, just working on my stuff, just developing every day. And then whatever they're going to send me, I'm just going to do my job. I mean, there's people assigned to choose if you go up, if you go down. That's not my job to kind of like talked about this or even worry about this. So I just went to Salem. I knew a lot of guys. We had a great group too. So I was just excited to like start my professional career, no matter where it was, if it was in rookie league, if it was in Salem, if it was in Greenville, no matter the place, I was just excited to get started. And I just went into the season with that mindset.
Were you surprised at all when you did, like Ed just mentioned, you were the very first guy in the entire system to receive a promotion this year? Like, did it surprise you at all? Like, were you expecting it?
No, that was a big surprise for me because it was my, like I said, first pro year. I don't know how call-ups work, like when they're going to be. So I was just focused on like just pitching, and I was pitching a lot. I had a lot of appearances down in Salem, and then I think it was like game cancel on Sunday against Delmarva at the end of April, and then we packed all the stuff. I had like a bunch of jerseys, so that was my job: pack the jerseys, put them in the bus, and then right when the bus, the manager Liam Carroll was just like, "Hey guys, I need to talk to you in the clubhouse." And honestly, my first thought was like, we played so bad that week, like it was not a good week for us. Like overall, like pitching, I didn't even think that was my greatest outing because I pitched, I think, on the Saturday in the second game of the doubleheader, and then Sunday game got canceled, so we all packed. And then I kind of like a rocky outing. I got out of it with a 0, but still not the way I wanted to pitch. So went into Sunday, he called everyone in the clubhouse, and he's just like, "Well, it's going to be quick. Landry's going to Greenville." At first, I'm sitting down and like we're still at the beginning of the year. Like my English sometimes a little slow. We're at the end of the week. My brain's a little fried. So I'm just like, all right, listening. And then Landry to Greenville. And it took me like 5 seconds before like everyone starts to scream and kind of like gather around me. I'm like, oh, I'm Landry. So I was like, that was a great surprise. I was not expecting that at all. But like a bunch of people told me, I mean, they want to see me kind of like get challenged, did what I had to do up there. And no matter how long it took, like, I mean, I think physically and mentally ready for it. And then I was just excited for a new challenge for me.
Yeah, I mean, it really did seem like you weren't challenged by the low A level. But when you got to high A, what did you find to be the biggest difference between the competition there?
I just think that they capitalized most on some mistakes. I mean, I kind of knew that I got away with some mistakes down in low A. I still think there's some really good hitters. And I mean, most of hitters I face at the end of the year in high A, I faced them in low A at the beginning of the year. So I don't think it's a difference. I mean, it's just more mature hitters. They capitalize on mistakes. And I mean, it stays like it's pro ball. I'm still throwing with the white ball and I'm still controlling it on the mound. So, I mean, that was just the only difference I kind of like noticed.
And you had an injury this year over the summer. What was that like, I guess, going through having to be sidelined and then making your comeback for the end of the season?
No, of course. I mean, I missed something like 4 weeks and felt like 3 months. I'm a competitor. I mean, never had any past injuries that kept me out more than like an outing. So that was definitely a little challenge for me and something I learned throughout the year that how to manage my body, manage my mind through like the longest season of my entire life. So I learned a lot, even though I wasn't playing during that those July, August period, early August. So I mean, I learned a lot about the physical aspect of it. Because I think I'm someone with a great work ethic, like knows my body pretty well. But if I've never been through an entire like pro ball season. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure how to manage that. And I definitely learned a lot about my body and how to manage to that workload.
What was the injury, and how long did you try to pitch through it before it became pretty clear that you needed to take some time away?
I would say, do I say like hockey wise, like upper body injury?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's
whatever
what
you
they
need to say for it. You don't have to. Be
I don't like to like specify too much about my injury, but it was like the first game back from what is it called? The All-Star break. We were in the Ikari, felt something in my arm, and then we kind of like built back from there, and I had like 2 setbacks. So it was kind of like a tough time that I was trying to come back and kind of learn like what's going on with my body, like wanted to go back quick. But honestly, the people down there, they took really good care of me, just making sure I was healthy before going back. So, I mean, Matt Hauser, Charisse were 2 important people for me. So just to learn about my body, just making sure some movements are better. But of course, I wanted to be back for the year and kind of like just finish the year strong. So
I interviewed Hunter Dobbins during the season, and he said something about you. He said when you got called up to Greenville, you were the only left-handed guy on the entire pitching staff. What was it like, I guess, just being – you were the only lefty for a long time in Greenville, I guess.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So what was that like?
It was special. I mean, I'm used to Mizzou. We had a bunch of left-handed guys. And I went to Salem, and I remember watching back the broadcast of my first outing on like the first game on Friday against Delmarva. And they were like, the first lefty in how many days on the mound for like Salem. And I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of lefties in the organization. So that was kind of funny. And then went into Greenville, and I'm noticing there's no starters and no relievers as lefty. My name is the only one on the roster card. So, I mean, that was part of like my new role with Coach Kipper. I mean, as a left-hander, I just need to get left-handed hitters out. So went up there, and I knew like most of my role, most of my appearances. If there's 2 outs, like the guy on deck's a lefty, that could be like a potential opportunity for me. So it was kind of like noticing that like I'm a left-handed and that I need to get some left-handed hitters out. So I think that's what I learned from when I got to Greenville.
So you had Noah Dean as your roommate initially, right?
Yeah, he was my roommate was Caleb Bolden. We were a lot with Noah Dean, Dalton Rogers, and then in the locker room we were clubhouse neighbors. So he was right next to me. So Noah Dean was right next to me in Salem.
Gotcha. So why did you stab him?
What'd you stab? I didn't hear what you said. Yeah.
Why did you stab Noah Dean? That's he said that there was some controversy.
The controversy of what?
Parker, do you want to?
You want to get into that now?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
We're getting straight into it.
Okay. I have written down, and this is a Noah Dean quote. Okay. Ask him about the blood vessel thing.
Oh, the blood vessel. Oh, and okay, so you're talking about roommate. That's back in Florida. Oh, the blood towel and everything. That was a crazy story down in Florida. So he was my roommate in Florida. When I was in Salem, my roommate was Caleb Bolden. And then so we just woke up one day, and like I see a towel full of blood in the bathroom. And I'm like, what happened last night? I probably just passed out. What happened last night? And that was a little like running gag in the training room that like, oh, Landry stabbed him during his sleep. He's crazy. And then so he just had, I don't know what happened, just allergy. It was right behind his shoulder or something like that. It was tiny, but it just kept like with blood. And so, yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, he said that they tried to pin it on you, and they were going to run with it a little bit, and the coach was just like, do we need to say anything?
Yeah, so all the trainers like, what'd you do to Dean? I'm like, what did I do to Dean? I don't know. Like, what happened? And then they all told me the same thing, and I'm like, what did I do?
I kind of like that, though. I like that for like if you're a closer and they're like, oh, man, I heard that guy stabbed one of his teammates. I mean, that just adds another level of intimidation right there.
I wish I didn't need that to intimidate, but that was a funny one from the trainers and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I guess since we're opening up the Noah Dean notes, I want to kind of finish them here. How's the golf game been?
My golf game, atrocious. I've been back home trying to work on my stuff, work on my swing a little bit. Driver game's awful. Can't drive to help my life. I've been practicing golf game, and then I remember in spring training went mini putt a little bit, and that was my game. Short game is my game. Chip putter. I matched one time with Aiden Mullins back in spring training. We were playing some scrambles, and then I remember just everyone laughing at me. Just how can you throw like 90 and then not be able to drive a golf club? I'm like, I'm used to like a hockey stick. I don't know, like this doesn't work for me.
I defended you, by the way, because I said in his defense, the golf season in Canada is probably a lot shorter than like Hayden Mullins is an Auburn guy. He's down in the South. Like he can golf all year round almost. So I defended you a little bit. I said I
appreciate the Mizzou support right there.
Absolutely. It's what I just want to know though, just for reference, like golf I'm guessing it's somewhat popular in Canada, just not like obviously up there.
I feel like it's a big thing for like hockey players whenever it's like summer. So, I mean, this year I think was probably the longest season in a while in Quebec for golf. So I had a chance to go like 3 times outside when I came back mid-September.
Oh, wow.
Like never seen that before. So I went like 3 times in 2 weeks, and my brother's pretty good and usually he drives, and then if I don't drive good, I'll just land at your spot kind of thing, just to make sure we're people behind us not waiting. But no, it's like a shorter season, but it's popular with like hockey guys. So I have a lot of hockey friends. They do that right after the season to just keep moving, have a little fun. So
yeah. So getting back onto the baseball side of things, unless you have is there another note from the Dean interview?
The last thing I had written down was playing bingo at Shoeless Joe's.
Oh yeah, that's electric. That was electric. I mean,
I want to know though, like give us like what the crowd looks like on any given night you guys are there.
I mean, expect like a normal like bingo night. Like, so we go there, and I think the first night we went, we were actually go to eat, and we're kind of like, we don't want to go like grab something elsewhere, drive cars, whatever. And I'm like, what about we just try like Shoeless Joe's and let's see what they got. And was it a Tuesday? I think it was on Tuesdays. So you in there and there's like an hour for that open slot of like bingo. So you just eat, and they announced that they're starting the bingo. Of course, we're like, let's go, let's hop in. And it just became a tradition for the guys that of the same draft class. Back when we were back there in Fort Myers, it was the first summer before the season. So we just started hanging there, and then people were actually getting upset like in the crowd because we were winning a lot. I mean, I think Noah Dean was like tricking those cards. I've never seen a guy win so much in bingo. And so we just spent some time there. And of course, there's like the older people, they're all there. Like it's their night, like they're competitive, they want to win. And then we're just out there, a group of guys, and bingo. And then everyone's looking at us like, what are they doing to those cards? So those are great moments that I think I'll remember, like, and I hope that we still go like next spring training.
I mean, it really does seem like the bond between you guys is like, cause just hearing you talk about them, hearing Dean talk about them, like it's something that is very cool to hear about. On the more like the back on the baseball side of things though, because you said before this was your longest season.
Yeah.
What did you do to, I guess, keep yourself focused, keep yourself healthy, especially after that injury? Like, what did you learn through this season that you'll take into next season?
Well, I learned a lot by experience. I mean, as my first full pro season, but also my first full reliever season, because I was kind of like going back and forth last year. So kind of like managing my workload is the number one thing. I mean, as a starter, you get your set routine, like day 1, day 2, day 3. As a reliever, I can't really do that. So that was something I kind of like shuffle around a little bit, because you can be like, they say hot, like ready for like 2 days, but it doesn't mean that you're going to pitch in those 2 days. I mean, if the opportunity comes, like you're going to pitch, and then it's kind of like a different, like managing the workload instead of just like coming into today and saying like, all right, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I just got to listen to my body. Like, even if I'm hot that day, like if I need 90 feet, 120 feet, like let me just keep it at that. I don't need to do every single day like 120, because the outing before it went good at 120. Like you're never going to know when's your like next outing. So I think just learning out to having a set routine in the morning, to kind of like clear your head, making sure that you're in a good head space to go to work. I think that was the big thing, because you can work on your body as long as you want. If up here it's not ready, like the rest is not going to follow. So I was making sure I had a better routine at the end of the year than I had at the beginning of the year, in terms of morning, going little walk, grabbing my coffee, making some work from distance, and just learn a lot like mentally, because beginning of the year I had some school work to do through spring training, beginning of the year, and then once it hit like June, like school was done. So I had to make sure that like I found a routine to kind of like work my brain, read, kind of a little copying what I do with school, but just making sure I learned a lot for my mental and my mind.
And that might go into a little bit of my next question here, but I interviewed you like right after I think it may have been like very close right after the draft.
Yeah.
And I was pretty excited, obviously, because the Mizzou guy came into the org, and I was pretty happy because Tanner Houck's the only other one.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed something. There's a big difference between talking to you now and talking to you. I'd say probably a little over a year ago. I feel like you feel a lot more comfortable. You're a lot more settled in. Like, did you get like, are you more comfortable and more settled in now in the States, like compared to like at this point last year?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of guys that didn't know my first language was French. So, I mean, I was proud of myself. I mean, I've been working on it. And I think just being like socially easier for me, I think that was a big thing when I got moved up. I mean, it's kind of like learning a new group and stuff. And I've been doing it for a while now. I mean, as a French Canadian going to the States, not knowing anyone. So I definitely feel more comfortable because I'm more experienced in that aspect. And I think that at the end of the year, that definitely helped my game, because just I'm being more comfortable with yourself is always going to be easier, no matter the job. So I feel more relaxed, more comfortable than I did when I first showed up to spring training.
Yeah, that's I was kind of thinking the same thing. You're not that your English was bad or anything before, but like I wouldn't have been able to like pinpoint what your accent is, or like how long has he been speaking this for. But was there anything new you learned about American culture this year with the team that you didn't know about beforehand? Because I'm always a little curious about that when people are didn't grow up here.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, first, I kind of like learned that through the past few years that football's a religion. I mean, I heard the guys talk about football so much, like I've never in my life experienced. But I think what I learned too is just Greenville's got the best fans. I mean, as a minor league team, like coming up from Salem, seeing what Greenville is like as a city, just to fans, I was like, wow, that is big league for me. Like that was pretty good. So those are the first two things that come to my mind when you ask me that question.
How was your time not on the field in Greenville but off? I've been to Greenville before, and I think it's a very underrated like just city. There's a lot to do. It's a pretty town actually. So what was your thoughts on the actual town itself?
I love the town. I mean, first day that I got there, we were going to Asheville on Tuesday, and then so it's like 3-hour trip. So we left on Tuesday. So the Monday before that, I spent all day in Greenville, and then I remember just Mr. Coffee Isaac that was there at the beginning of the year. He just made me visit like all around like waterfalls and stuff, and I was just amazed by it. And I'm like, wow, that's so. I try to make it like a routine of like just spending some more time just just walk in there. And as someone who doesn't have like a car in the U.S., I mean, that's a great spot to just hang out, just making sure I work on my mind, just making sure I go take my walks and have that little routine. And I was a big fan of Beck's Coffee, which is like 5 minutes from the apartment. So I was going there every morning, getting my two Beck's bagels, and then with my large iced coffee. And then every morning I was going there. They knew my order by now. Like I was going every morning as a breakfast. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, you mentioned. Oh, sorry, Part.
No, you go ahead.
Oh no, you mentioned though that after class finished and everything, you started reading. So what kind of stuff do you like to read?
A lot about psychology. So I was mixing between French and kind of like English, just making sure I keep both languages. I like to read about just set routines, and then more of the psychology aspect of like it was in French. I'll make the translation, but like the winner's attitude. It was a little book in French that kind of like really helped me out to set my goals, set my mind to something. And even if it doesn't show in the first few days, first few months, first year, like how you can grow into that mindset and go get your goals. So
I have actually a little segment, Ed. I want to do a rapid fire segment. I wrote down some questions. There's no wrong answers, and they're not that hard of questions. And it kind of has to deal with some stuff that you've we were just talking about with like Greenville and stuff. So I have, what is your favorite Americanized food that you tried for the first time since coming?
Americanized food?
Or like just American food that they don't probably have in Quebec.
Oh, I love Panda. I'm a big Panda fan. That's not going to change.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's with everybody in Panda East? That's like all the new guys that came in are big that we talked to. They're big Panda guys.
Oh yeah, big fan. That's
so they don't have that in Canada.
They don't have Panda in Canada, but they have something similar, which I go to. I'm not sure how it translates to, but it's a lot of like just those orange chicken, kind of like rice, kind of like mix. So I'm a big fan of that, and that's the closest I've found in the U.S. from that. So I kind of like it makes me think of home too. So
Ed was saying we interviewed a couple guys from the 2023 draft class, and that's like their thing. Like they're just like, oh yeah, I remember this guy because we went to Panda like every day. So it's kind of funny. All right, so now that's a good choice, by the way, on the American food. So what about back home? If you had, what is your like favorite food back in Canada that is not accessible here?
Oh, poutine, the best poutine. I mean, gotta stick to it.
I've never tried it, so I don't know. I've seen it on menus in like upstate New York and stuff.
My bachelor party, we ordered like 4 or 5 different types of poutine from the same place, and just like devoured it. It's just like you can do. There's no bad way to do poutine. I have found, at least in Canada.
Oh no way! And then you go down in Quebec, which is like Victoriaville, Drummondville, like the two cities, which are like that is a big religion of like fighting for like where the first poutine came from. And then we have both like really good places, and it's kind of like going back and forth of which one's the first to actually had the poutine. And then those two places are really good.
They do like barbecue contests and chili cook-offs and stuff like that here in the States. Do they do poutine competitions?
I mean, poutine, yeah, a little bit with those two places. I don't think it's as much because I think it's really competitive with like the chili, like hot dog. You see the hot dog contest. But there's nothing like this for poutine. I mean, I would be excited to see like how fast can you eat like how many poutine for like an hour. That would be a great idea. Great business idea.
I think you're onto something, man. I kind of like that. I turned on the hot dog eating competition this past year, and my fiance was like, "That is disgusting." So, but we love it, right? We love it. All right, my next one. So I'm not sure how many of these you've been to so far, but which U.S. state has been your favorite so far?
It's tough. If I don't say Missouri, it's going to be tough. But I would say, like, as town-wise, I would say like Tennessee was my favorite one.
Yeah,
it's just
I'm with you on Missouri, by the way.
Stuff.
Tennessee's fun.
Oh yeah, electric.
Did you have like any towns that did you play in any? I guess in Greenville doesn't. Do they play a team in Tennessee? I don't know if there's even a team in Tennessee.
No, I don't think there's a team in Tennessee. It's mostly
Chattanooga
North
used to
Carolina,
have
South
one.
Carolina. I was thinking more about when I went to Mizzou. It was Nashville and Tennessee. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and Knoxville obviously as well.
Knoxville. Yeah, I said Tennessee, Nashville, and Knoxville.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
For Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Okay, so now I have a question that I'm pretty curious about, and I want to know, what is the most underrated vacation spot in Canada?
The most underrated vacation spot?
Yeah, like for tourists, like not Niagara Falls.
Okay.
I feel like that's very.
I would say Quebec City.
Okay,
it's like Quebec City, like the old Quebec.
That's a good answer.
Like, that's a great one.
Is there a reason though behind it? Like, is there like something that's like this is underrated because?
No, I would say just a view. Just a view.
Okay.
Hey, can you give me a second? I need to talk to one of my friends. He's looking for his key. I'm at the indoor facility, so he's right here looking for his keys. But they're not in my backpack. So dans mon coat de jacket. C'est bon. I'm down at the facility, and I saw him.
No. Hey. No, it's all good. We just appreciate you hopping.
I don't know if you guys can see. I was on the left, like trying to just listen and be like. No, all
you gotta do is throw up one of these. You'd be like, "Hey, man, I just gotta take a time out here."
But yeah, we're talking about old Quebec. I mean, just buildings, the view is just incredible, and I think it's like a go-to to go see. I mean, Quebec is probably one of the most like popular cities. So if you think about tourists, like you need to go to whole Quebec, which is a part of Quebec City.
Yeah, the history there is really incredible too.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like it's like the only city that's a fort in North America, if I remember correctly. There, like it's impressive.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great one. There's a mix of like French and English because it's more like a business city. So there's a lot of English. You're going to be able to communicate and go through Quebec without having to speak French. You know?
I never knew that, so I've never been. I've always wanted to go, so that's definitely on the list. And we're not even too far from it. I'm in New Hampshire now, so I'm not even too far from.
Quebec, that's pretty close.
Yeah. So I got one more of the rapid fire before we get into a couple more baseball ones at the end. But I have a two-parter here. Okay. So I have: is it the Leafs year, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if it's not, so if you say no, which Canadian-based NHL team is going to be the first one to bring the cup back to Canada?
Oh, I got a good one. I don't think it's the Leafs here. I mean, I'm Montreal Canadiens fans. If I say it's the Leafs,
I knew that, but
I can't go back to Florida. Like I can't. They're keeping me up here. Like it's not going to happen. So I mean, I don't think it's the Leafs here. I think everything they do, they're going to have a great seasons. All right. But what happens in the playoffs is completely different. And then who I think this year is going to surprise a lot of Canadian teams, I think it's Calgary. They got a new coach. They got some dudes there on the last year of contract. They want to prove that they're part of like the top in the NHL. I think it's a team that's going to be really different. They brought in some new like younger guys. They're going to push those vets up. I think Calgary is a great Canadian NHL team for this year.
That's honestly, like, I'm okay with anything Western Canada because obviously we don't like the Leafs here. I mean, we don't like the Habs either, but it's okay.
I have to ask you something really quick, Parker. Was this intentional having Nathan on for Bruins opening day? Because that's happening later tonight.
He's not a Bruins guy, though. I knew that.
So. No, but it's
also
still
Montreal's opening day. It's not only Bruins opening day, and they're facing Toronto. So, oh yes, so it's gonna be a good matchup,
Canada, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll for sure get you off in plenty of time to go home and watch the game. But I had like one or two more baseball questions though before we ended. So you're heading into your I guess first official offseason after your first year of pro ball. So what kind of goals do you have for this offseason to get you prepped for your second year?
That's a great question. I mean, I'm gonna kind of like go into that question in like three different aspects. I mean, at first, like baseball wise, I mean, I just want to keep improve on my strengths. So whatever it is, like fastball, slider, kind of like just making sure that the floor. I think past off seasons, I always had like I was seeing like the you see like the ceiling, kind of like instead of raising kind of like that ceiling, raising the floor. So like whatever, like my worst days are like here instead of being down here, instead of being like worst days and like better days. I want to kind of like raise that floor so I'm in more consistent with those outings. So I think it comes from fastball and sliders. Like pitch design wise, I need to work a little more on that third pitch. We kind of like worked a lot on the splitter as a lefty, so it's kind of something that I started to add slowly into the season. I just need to be more competitive with it. And mechanically wise and body wise, I just need to get stronger and work on managing that workload to make sure that I get stronger for a longer period of time. So I really like how my body came in the spring training. I got to find a way to kind of like push that limit, get out of my comfort zone, like body wise, and make sure my body can sustain that amount of workload for a longer period of time.
So when I talked to you a year ago, it really stuck with me because you come from a place where baseball isn't the primary sport, and to get to the point that you were able to get to here, even just getting to play college ball, that took so much dedication and so much passion to be able to even get drafted. And now that you've been there for a year, have you found that your passion for it has changed at all? And how, like from when you were in high school and you were like, like trying to get to this point, because that was, I feel like that's everybody who's playing there's a goal. How has it been towards your expectations? How would high school Nathan Landry feel about the current Nathan Landry?
I think they're both as passionate. I don't think the passion is something that changed. I think it's my why. We talked a lot about like you need a why to play. Like it's not like everyone's passionate, and my why is kind of like getting bigger. Like of course I do it for my family because they don't have as much chance of like seeing me, but I do it for a bigger group of person because there's a lot of French Canadians here, and I see it every day in the indoor facility where I spend most of my days. That they practice, they hit here in those cages because I would say like 6-7 years ago when I was in high school, I didn't have the chance of having an indoor facility like that to practice baseball all year round. So just seeing those people and doing it for them too, to show that like they don't only have role models in like hockey, like it's really popular. Just knowing that like I'm someone they kind of like look into because there's not a lot of French Canadians that do it. So I think my why grew a little bit of like doing it for bigger amount of people, and just knowing that there's always going to be people behind me, and that is my province. Yeah.
And so speaking of, you brought up the indoor facility. I saw you were one of the co-owners, correct?
Yeah.
So how did you may have just answered that too, but how did that kind of come up, I guess come along? And if you want to just talk about it a little bit too, that's, I kind of peeped the Instagram page, and you guys are always posting on there. And I just wanted to know like what kind of brought that up, and I guess to get you into that, wanted to be a co-owner there.
Yeah. So I was always close to that group. I mean, for the past, we've been open since like COVID hit. So COVID hit, we just opened, we closed for a few months, and now I've always been like a private coach here, coaching the younger generation. And then it kind of like went into the conversation with me making it to pro ball, and also finishing my school in business administration, both connected together, two passions that I got. And I was like, I want to like that was one way of giving back to the community, giving back to Quebec, giving back to my city here. And it was just making sure that there's more to baseball than just playing. I have some fun playing it. I want to play it as long as I can, but I know that I can make a difference too with younger people, and just being part of that co-ownership group that I grew up a lot, like watching. A few of them were my coaches when I was younger. I think it was just the right fit for all of us to kind of like me join that group, share my ideas from what I've seen with baseball in the US. What can we do here to kind of like give that passion to more people here in Quebec?
No, I love that because I was looking around the Instagram page a little bit, and I had to hit the translate button because it was all in French. But I love it. I mean, you're bringing baseball to a place where it might not be as known. Obviously, it's not like Texas. Like probably when you look around some of the locker rooms and you see a bunch of guys from Jersey, apparently,
Yeah,
you see a bunch of guys from Texas and stuff, and you're like, okay, well, I didn't come from that background. I came from Quebec, so I love that. And Ed, emptying the bench here. Do you got any final questions?
Okay, so you're on the mound, right? You're pitching, 9th inning. It's a 1-run game. Throw the ball. Somebody hits. They hit it. Which of your fielders are you hoping they hit it to?
Oh, which one? Tyler Miller.
Yeah, with Green.
Tyler
Miller,
in Greenville.
really?
Roommate in Greenville. I've seen him do his early work with We Baseball. I've seen him like. We both came up like I would say a week apart, and I grew a lot like closer to him. He's somebody that I trust a lot. I've seen him make some incredible plays at third, at first. I want to see him get the ball.
I don't know if I was expecting that one, but yeah. I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Roman Anthony or like Edinson Polito or something like that. That's a cool answer. I like that.
I do too. I like that a lot. Nathan, you've given us 40 minutes of your time, man. We appreciate it. You're still at the facility, and I know I want you to be able to watch that opening night hockey game. I think it starts in about an hour. So,
yeah.
But as always, thank you, and I do need to tell you, thank you for having on Mizzou baseball early in the season. Dobbin said you were his roommate on the road earlier in the year, and he said that he watched way too many Mizzou games because he always had it on the TV. So. Appreciate that.
always there for that. But I appreciate it's always a pleasure with you, Ed and Andrew. I love it every single time. So thank you.
Well, you're going to be a repeat guest I could have probably sat here and talked to you for 2 hours because you're one of the more interesting guys. So as always, we 100% appreciate it.
We appreciate your time so much.
Thank you, guys.